Have you guys ever been scrolling on social media and stopped to listen to mental health advice and wondered, is this actual advice or is this just something that's like super convincing? So today we are going to pull from videos that we have personally seen and quiz ourselves to see if this is actually coming from a mental health expert or an online influencer. How are you doing,
Mm,
Hannah?
good. How are you?
Good, good. I am like, when you suggested this, I was like super stoked because I know, at least for myself, like I have been on there scrolling and have even looked down at the name to see, does it say doctor or, LMHC or whatnot. And even people, I have clients send me videos and
Yes.
sometimes I'm just like cringing at what they're sending. So I'm excited. How
Yeah.
are you feeling?
I'm excited too. I feel like it'll be good to clear some of this stuff up and also help people to look at that because, like, you should be looking for where this advice is coming from
Yes,
because
I think
it's
it's a
not
great point.
always accurate.
No, not at all, and I do think there's something to be said about, like, life experience, but yes, I think always looking at where it's coming from is a great tip. So, yeah, excited. So do you wanna get started and maybe kick us off? I'm a
Yeah.
little nervous, if I'm being honest.
It's too.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, so I'll share like a quote that I heard from one of these videos, and then you can guess if it's from a licensed or mental health professional or an influencer. Okay, so
Okay.
here's my first one. You should think of the word depressed as deep rest. Your body needs to be depressed. It needs deep rest from the character you've been trying to play.
Such a good one. Wow, I've actually never heard of that. I would probably say, okay, can we talk about it afterwards?
Yes, yeah.
I would say an influencer. Yeah? Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
It actually came from Jim Carrey.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know
And
why?
so
Mhm.
oh, no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I said that because it sounded like it came from a very personal experience. Like,
Yes.
whoever said it, for them, that's how it because of the lack of rest or, feeling like they had to portray themselves as someone, that it led to feeling what they just define as depression. And so that's what I thought. I was like, that sounds very specific. So,
Yes, and that's exactly what I was gonna say. Because if you think about Jim Carrey and all the characters he's played, he seems to get I don't know if he does, like, method acting, but he seems to get really into it. So I could
mhm.
see how him playing this, like, funny guy all the time would be a mask, kinda like Robin Williams, where he felt like
Mhm.
his sense of humor masked his depression. That I can see that being helpful for some. It is a very personal experience.
Mhm. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Which, for him is accurate. That's for him, that was like his lived experience. But that's not what we would define, depression as a lack of rest. But yeah, that was a good one, Hannah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You ready for this one?
I'm
This
ready.
I, okay. Okay. So it's not really advice, but it was when I saw it, it's kind of like indirect advice, I guess, because she gives her opinion. So, okay. You ready? So it says the mistake a lot of people make is not understanding what actually matters in a relationship. A beautiful relationship are two people who come together and can grow together.
Interesting.
And this one's a little bit like controversial, actually, after I share it with you. But yes.
I wanna guess influencer.
Okay. Yeah. So it's Mel Robbins, but technically she is. I don't think she actually has a background in. It might be a coach, but
Okay.
I don't think it's anything beyond that. But okay. So what led you to say that? I'm curious.
Because that one, it seems very vague, and I don't know, it just doesn't feel, like, backed by research. I don't
Yes.
know.
Yes. That's what I thought too. I thought like, so when I heard her say that, or she said, the mistake, I, I think it's a mistake, that some people make sometimes is like not really understanding, like what, I don't know, maybe they don't have enough experience or for whatever reason, with the relationships and may not fully understand like what it entails. But I think there's so many other mistakes that go on there. Sometimes it's like we hear poor communication or just like different communication styles. That's where like the love languages come in, like are you aware of like what your partner, the way your partner, I don't know, prefers to be shown love, like those kinds. There's so many different things that happen. Sometimes people aren't. I think about my couple sessions, and a lot of times it's like we're talking more than we're listening.
Mm,
Yeah, there could be bringing baggage in from previous relationships, into this one.
yeah.
So, the fact that she said "the mistake," it was as if it's, like, the biggest mistake, and that part I didn't agree with. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was Mel
Yeah,
Robbins.
that's I feel like Mel Robbins is kinda controversial from what
Yes.
I've heard. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
But
I
that was a
I
good one.
agree. Yeah, yeah, I do love the people that she I don't know, do you ever watch her podcast?
No, I haven't. I haven't read
It's
her
so
books
good.
either.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're missing out. Yeah.
I
Well, I mean,
know.
that might be controversial too, but I think they're great. It's just like they're easy reads. I will say this whenever I've listened to, she has great guests on her podcast. But whenever I listen to her stuff, or I've read like, if, like, what was the latest one? The Let Them Theory, like those kinds
Yes.
of books. It's in my opinion, I think it's great. It's just like recycled content, essentially, just like putting it in her own words and then creating this idea or whatever, a different way to label it, but it's nothing new, But then again, many
Mhm.
would argue is there really anything new that's coming out nowadays. So, but
Yeah.
okay, that was a good guess. That was good. All right.
Alright, well, this next one, I found interesting for a couple reasons, but okay. Your brain cannot be grateful and anxious at the same time, so look for things to be grateful for.
Shoot. So, okay, so I'm gonna give my answer, but there's reasons behind it. Okay, so I'm gonna say mental health expert.
What's your
I'm like looking to see if I'm right.
what's your reason behind it?
Okay, so there has been research out there that talks about how your brain how we can, as much as we think that we can multitask, our brain is literally just oscillating back and forth between two thoughts at once. And so they say that in reality, the way that we're wired, we really can only think about one thing at one time, even if it's just like a split second and then we're thinking about something else. And so it feels like we're juggling
Mm,
multiple thoughts. So, the way that it was worded was a little funny. It sounds like the way an influencer would say it, but I do think that it does align with what people say out there. I
yeah.
don't know. Is it an influencer?
It did come from an influencer, but I agree. I think it probably came from their therapist or because I saw a lot when I was looking for, stuff to talk about. It was like my therapist said, and it's of course them summarizing what they heard. But yeah, I agree. I think with anxiety, it's hard to balance those two together, like to hold both of those
Mm.
at the same time. I think there are a lot of emotions you can feel more than one at a time, like
Mhm.
grief, sadness, hurt, betrayal, like those. But I feel like anxiety, to have anxious thoughts, it's hard to do that and be grateful for something at the same time. So yeah, I agree, but it did come from an influencer. So
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. Wow, that's good. Yeah, I feel like some of this stuff, when it's so funny you said like they probably heard it from a therapist. Whenever you like, I guess the game of telephone essentially, but like when you have one person tell someone else something they've heard and then tell someone else, it kind of changes form a little bit. But you wonder,
Yes.
was there some truth to it, right? Originally, but that was a good
Right.
one.
Because whenever, like, I'll have a client come back to the session, I'll be like, I told so and so about what you said. And I'm like, but what did you
What did you
hear
say?
that you said? And sometimes it's like a little bit off, and sometimes it's like way off. And I'm like, wait a second, hold on.
Yeah,
That's not something I would say, but I
yeah.
do think it's funny what people hear when
Huh?
when we say stuff.
I agree. Okay, so that actually, funny enough, goes with my second one. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's exactly it actually. So, okay, so it says the number one communication mistake you see people making today is that people think what is said is exactly what's heard, especially in relationships. So it's so funny you said that.
Okay, I'm gonna guess a professional on that one.
Professional?
And now I feel like it's an influencer.
What's your final answer?
I'm gonna go with professional, and I have a reason why.
What's your reason? Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't do couples counseling, but a lot of my individual clients come to me like from like couples counseling, and that's something they're taught often is when they're talking with their partner, sometimes they'll stop and they'll ask like, this is what I heard, is that what you said? And that's how they pause to clarify before they, get angry or upset or offended. So they take that moment to stop. So that's what I've learned through my clients, what they're learning in
In
couples
couples
counseling.
counseling? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. Actually, so this was a Texas attorney, divorce attorney. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so and he so he's been on, like, quite a few, like, really like, The Diary of a CEO, like, really, like, well-known, like, podcasts and platforms, and so I don't know so I think now he's kind of become more of an influencer. His name's Jefferson F. But, yeah, I thought it was so I yes, you're right. Like, a lot of times, very similar to what we've experienced, like you were saying earlier with our clients, where sometimes we might say, like, Let's pause here for a second. Can you just let me know what you just heard me say?" Or something like that, just to, like, make sure that we're on the same page or yeah, we're on the same chapter kind of thing, and, we aren't missing each other just to kind of gain that confirmation there, but the problem I had with this one, though, is that he said the number one communication mistake, and so I think it's very similar to Mel Robbins, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
I think every case is different and there might yes, like that might be a communication mistake, but there might be more to it. Like the reason like when you think about contextually like their relationship as a whole, like the reason why they are adding like so much to what they've heard, they're taking what they heard and adding their own context. It might be because of like other deeper rooted issues within the relationship, whether it's like I don't know, it just made me think like there could be so many things that are going on there. And so I wouldn't necessarily say the number one communication mistake, but it happens a lot. It happens all the time. It happens in our own sessions with our own clients. And I thought it was interesting that it was a divorce attorney
Yeah.
that said that. Yeah.
That
Hmm.
is fascinating. Yeah. A lot of blanket statements being made.
Yes, for sure.
So,
Exactly. Absolutes. Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. Well, my next one kind of has to do with relationships too, but it's if it still bothers you after 24 hours, speak up within 48 hours.
So if it still bothers you after 24 hours, speak up within 48 hours. Okay, so let me talk through this one really quickly. So here's the thing. We speak of communication skills. Like we do know that there are some people that are internal processors and then there are those that are external. And those that are external tend to want to like process things fairly quickly, like in the moment. And then those that are internal processors need a little bit of time in order to process, right? And like think about like how it's impacted them. Is it worth really kind of bringing up? Is it still something that's bothering them a day later? But the 24, 48-hour thing, they do say to bring up sooner than later to bring up your concerns and not let it drag out so far out. But I don't know about the 24, 48. I want to say yes to an expert.
It is
Yeah?
actually. Yeah.
Okay.
It's from a licensed therapist, not like a well-known one, but just like, a therapist posting videos on TikTok. Yeah, I agree. I think that that's just another absolute or another blanket statement to say 24 and 48.
24.
I
Mm-hmm.
think it can be individualized per couple because, like, some people need to step away to cool down for a minute and then come back and then have the conversation. Some people want to get it figured out like right then and there. So it depends on the couple. It depends on who it's with, like your boss or a friend or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the overall gist of the information is valuable. It's just the timing doesn't have to be exact.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree 1,000% with you. You're right. Like the lesson is there, right? Like how it's okay to, maybe kind of see if the emotions simmer a little bit and then revisit it to see if it's something that's worth even discussing and kind of bringing up. And then you also don't want it to like go too far out for various reasons. Like, sometimes like we're saying people are very different. So if you bring something up that happened like a week or two ago, there's so many complications with that. One, your partner has, potentially like closed it up, put it in a box, put it in a shelf, like has moved on from it, and then feels like, why are we rehashing things? Like, why didn't you just tell me in the moment? They might feel blindsided. And then people's recollection of like events. I heard like after 72 hours, it's hard to recollect how the event actually happened or something like there was like a research study on that. So the longer you wait, the more of your own biases is probably being like kind of plopped into the story. And so when you go back to address it, people aren't really recalling it correctly. So that was a good one. Yeah, that was great. Okay, I'm interested to see what you're going to say with this one. I thought that this was interesting. Can you overcome so we have similar ones because your first one was about depression. This one's about depression. Can you overcome depression without medication? Absolutely. Exercise has been found to be equally effective.
Okay. I'm going to say, okay, this is a tricky one because I've heard that from a professor when I was in grad school, but I'm going to go with influencer on that one
Why influencer?
because that's not the case for everybody. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, it definitely helps. Physical movement, anything like that does help with depression, but sometimes your chemicals are just off. You have bad genetics.
Mhm.
Like sometimes there is
Mhm.
a need for medication. So I can't agree with that again on a blanket statement.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. So this was actually Dr. Amen, who's like the famous psychiatrist that owns like all of those like
What?
Amen clinics.
What?
Yeah. So
Oh my
so here's
gosh.
the caveat. I don't know if that's like the right word, but anyway. So here's the thing. I did click on it and then like read. He had written an article in regards to it, and so I did read the article, and so actually. His statement wasn't fully like accurate. In the article, it said people that struggle with mild to moderate levels of depression
Yeah.
can overcome depression without any medication, but when he said it on TikTok, it just said, can you overcome depression without medication? Absolutely is what he said.
My word, that is
Yeah.
such I feel like that's like pulling scripture out of context, you know? Like people people pull Bible verses out and use it for everything, but they don't know the actual context, and that's a real life example from like
Mhm.
science. So,
Yes. Yeah, I
my
agree.
word.
Yes,
Yeah,
which I think
because
is why it's so important, like you were mentioning earlier, to read, to know who's saying it. And, when they say research says, like, kind of doing your own research and seeing like what exactly, those studies were about, who was involved in those studies, what was the actual outcome of the study. And because, after you, I don't know, kind of tease it apart, you realize, okay, so people with mild or moderate potentially, right? But we're not talking about like severe or recurring, like those heavier clinical diagnoses.
yeah,
Yeah, so it was
because
interesting.
you can't tell someone in that state of mind, "Just go on a walk, you'll feel better."
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yes. Again, it's with the like broad, general, absolute statements.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow. Well, that actually is very similar to my last one. This one is how to heal your mind through your body. So, if you're angry, lift weights. If you're sad, go for a walk. If you're stressed, go for a run.
Okay, say it one more time. How to heal your mind through your body.
Yes. If you're angry, lift weights. If you're sad, go for a walk. If you're stressed, go for a run.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I hope it's an influencer, and if it's not, then that's very frustrating.
No, it's from a fitness influencer.
Okay, thank the Lord. Yeah. If we're talking about like on a large scale, people that are struggling with anger or sadness. I don't know, even debilitating stress, even like going for a run for 30 minutes isn't going to solve that problem, right? So,
Yeah.
wow. So not to take away from the fitness instructor or coach, there are benefit. Like we do know and
Yeah.
understand, right, that there are connections there between mind and emotional health and physical health, and that certain, hormones are secreted during certain workouts and stuff, and so we get that. But I think again, it's like on a spectrum where we're talking about people that, maybe just having a bad day or struggling with something episodically for a short period of time versus like chronic, whatever that
Yeah.
that might be for them. So, huh, interesting. That was a good one. That was a good one, Hannah. I like that. Okay. I was going to say if
Thanks.
this is a licensed therapist,
That would be
man.
crazy.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So I don't know. Let's see what you say about this last one. All humans need is 8 minutes of time from a friend to feel not alone in a moment of stress or in a moment of need.
Client actually said that quote to
Yes?
me recently. Yeah. I feel
Did
like I
they?
hear most of this from clients.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Man,
Did
I
they
feel
say
like all
the
my
8 minutes?
yes, 8 minutes exactly.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. But I feel like all my guesses have been influencer, but I'm gonna go with influencer on that one.
Influencer? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think so. I think it is. So it's Simon Sinek. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Oh, yeah. He's great. He's an author and inspirational speaker. Yeah, so I knew about him because he started out focusing on business leadership. I don't believe his degrees are in our industry. I don't think so. I think it's
Mm.
like either business management or something like that. So, but he really is great. He's I think just brilliant, and he talks a lot about he's the one that came up with the why. I don't know if you've ever heard that people talking about like how to figure out like the why or your purpose behind like what you're doing. And there's like a whole process
Mm.
to it, but and he actually became famous from this TED Talk, very similar to Brene Brown. His like TED Talk just like totally went viral, and that's where everybody began hearing from him like years ago. But he's moved now from doing like business leadership to lately his thing, it's very interesting, has been on loneliness. And he wrote a book. I can't remember what the book is called, but it comes from this. And I think he did work with a few people on like doing research and stuff like that. But yeah, he has coined that idea that it only takes. I was wondering if you had heard it, but I wrote it on there. I was like, if she's aware of him, she's like 1,000% has heard it because that's all like you hear nowadays from him on social media. But yeah, it says humans only need 8 minutes of time from a friend in order to work through some of those like difficult moments that they experience. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so do you
hmm
think that's true? Like, do you agree with that?
You know, so here's the other part. I think that so this is the problem I had with this one is that when it says 8 minutes of time, like what kind of time are we looking at? Is it just like, sitting? I don't know. I don't know. Is it just like sitting next to each other on the couch, like watching a show, or is it going on, a walk or connecting in some other way, or is a person being super present, because you could have someone right next to you being in the same, breathing the same air, and you don't feel like they're there, right?
Right.
And so I probably need to look a little bit more into that to see how they would define those 8 minutes. I didn't do that, but I would assume, I would hope that it says something about like, I don't know, like doing something or engaging in a way that really kind of like fosters that sense of connection. And then I think that there might be something to it. Yeah. Yeah, I do. How
I
about you?
agree. Yeah, I agree on that, but I think again it goes like you have to dive a little deeper into the video or whatever you're seeing it on because if you just take that and you're like, "Well, I just need 8 minutes of anything from anybody," you're not really getting your cup filled. So it may be like very person to person like someone needs quality time and another person needs acts of service and whatever that looks like for them, it could just vary person to person. So I think all of these things are really worth looking deeper into, not just taking the quote for what it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably like the biggest lesson for me when doing this. It was fun to do and to kind of look for and stuff like that. But you're right. I think that there was a little bit of truth to all of them. But just recognizing that like I don't know. It doesn't it won't necessarily apply to everyone, and that there's probably more context to what it is that they're saying, right? And I understand a lot of times on social media, it's like, it's getting just saying something quick that'll kind of generate some emotion and not really getting into like the details of it. But I think that's why the lesson for me at least is, when you see something that resonates with you or you think like that could potentially be something that, yeah, that might work or I want to like implement or, apply to my life, like digging a little bit deeper and kind of seeing like where is this coming from? Who said it? What's the like, I don't know, research that's backing it up, and
Yeah.
kind of going from there. But all good stuff. Yeah. All like
Yeah.
positive things,
It
but
is, and very
mhm.
and helpful, and I feel like that's even true for our videos because we make videos all the time about how to help with this feeling and what to do in this situation, but that doesn't apply to everyone, and I think something like, for our reflection room viewers that need to know is if you feel like something hits close to home, it's worth talking to a therapist about. So,
Yes.
reaching
Yes.
out, looking for a therapist, finding, I mean, we have plenty at Tampa Counseling Place to talk
Mhm.
to. I think that'd be great just to dive deeper and find out why that hit home and explore what that means for you specifically, not just I found this video and now I'm going to take it on and use it in my life. But yeah, hopefully this exploration helped you to learn how to look at videos and determine if they fit for you or when to look deeper and to learn who they're coming from. But yeah, and it's been great talking about this
Yes,
with
it
you,
was
Natalie.
fun. I loved it. We'll have to do
Yeah.
a part 2 maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Good
And
stuff.
then until next time, as we always say, keep reflecting.